Hi everyone, welcome back to Content Breakdown. This is lesson 2 of my mega series on how to become a content creator. This episode in particular will focus on how to build your brand. And if you haven't checked it out already, I've already posted lesson 1, which is how to start your journey as a content creator. Because in this series, it's going to take you all the way from the very first step of making your account to growing it online and hopefully gaining millions and millions of followers. Now, the lesson outcome in this one in particular, we'll find out how to build a brand direction sheet, which will touch on 3 really important things. First, we're going to talk about how to find your target audience, and we'll actually build out this sheet, which helps you kind of get into your head who it is that you're making content for. Then we'll go on here to finding your video format, which is how long you want your videos to be. Then ultimately we'll go to your upload consistency, as well as the most important thing of this video, which is what I really want to focus on, is your X factor. Now this is huge for growing your account on social media. It really helps you stick out as a content creator. There's going to be millions and millions of posts online, and we're going to find a way for you to make your videos unique and your own. And it's really going to catch people's attention and also become a memorable piece of content in the back of their head. So when they see your video over and over and over again, they are going to want to follow you. I have a few case studies that we'll go through that I'm really excited to share. And ultimately, at the very end, we are going to build out this brand template, which focuses on who your target audience is and just recaps the entire video from what your platform, watch time, upload consistency, and ultimately, like I said, the most important thing, which is your X factor. Again, I have examples for all this, so I'm really excited to share. Without further ado, let's get into this video, which is how to build your brands. So starting with who is your audience. Finding your target audience is a crucial step in building a successful social media presence. Even the best content can struggle to gain traction if it isn't reaching the right people. And I think this is one of the most important things, because if you don't know who your target audience is, you don't know who you're actually trying to make content for. Identifying who you want to speak gives your content purpose and direction, helping you tailor your messaging, style, and topics to meet their interests and needs. A clear audience focus also signals to platforms like TikTok and YouTube who is most likely to engage with your content, improving discoverability and growth. And over time, consistently creating content for a well-defined audience builds trust and loyalty, turning casual viewers, like we talked about, into engaged followers who see your channel as a valuable and relatable resource. So, in order to get here and really come up with who your target audience is, I've pulled a bunch of this information that I think is really important for us to go through and fill out. Specifically, just as an example, I wanted to use someone in high school who wants to get a college football scholarship, like an offer, recruited from a college to play D1. This was just the niche that I chose to use as an example, but whatever your niche is, which is what we talked about in our previous video, whether it's finance, cooking, or surfing, or cleaning, and it could be anything. Like we said, the list goes on and on. But for this one in particular, I'm going to talk about the college football niche of high schoolers wanting to play D1 and hopefully make it to the NFL eventually and be a pro athlete. So for this one in particular, I had to think of who my demographic is, right? If I am making content about how to become a college football player, right, my target audience is going to be someone in high school. So that's why I put age 14 to 18, particularly a male as a football player as this example. United States, just because we're talking about American football. And again, high school, because they want to play in college, right? So we're not going to advertise our account to already college students. The main focus of our account will be to help high school students figure out how they can get offers and looked at and ultimately recruited from these D1 colleges. Interests and hobbies of this person we are targeting. Again, this is building out your target audience. Their main interest, obviously football. Their passions and hobbies, obviously football. And their problem is they don't know how to get recruited from colleges, right? The actual recruitment process for high schoolers can, if you're not part of a good high school football program, can be a complete mystery, right? And this account in particular will help target those athletes who don't have a sense of direction, and it'll demystify, as we'll talk about later, how they can get recruited by the colleges that they want. So this is the problem that our account is set to answer. And the problem, again, right, this is where you provide value, which is one of the most important things to define in your account. Specifically, behavior and habits of the person we are targeting. The primary platform that they're going to watch content on is TikTok. So we are going to make TikTok videos. How they consume content is probably around 30 seconds, right? We have to think of a high schooler right now in 2025. And they, again, if they're on TikTok, are going to be watching on their phone. Now we'll get into psychographics, which is going to be what they value, their lifestyle, right? Their real focus is football. They want to be an NFL player, and their motivation, again, to be a pro athlete. And this is also a really important thing, too, that I wanted to touch on is the style that resonates. Because college football can be kind of a mystery for many high school students, and that's really the problem we are trying to solve. I think a huge style that resonates is this show, don't tell. Because again, if you're just kind of talking through it and explaining it, that could be as good as someone just looking up online and trying to figure it out for themselves. But if you're actually in the facility or able to get invited to these different locker rooms and show what it is like and talk to recruiters and be able to make content that's centered around, right? We'll get to discuss this soon, but just demystifying the whole concept of what it means to become a college football player right from high school and get recruited. It really helps that 14 to 18-year-old high school male in the US figure out what the process is like and what it ultimately means to be a college football player. Because at the end of the day, these people that we are targeting are trying to receive college offers, and our content can help demystify this process, right? This is really the main focus. And as we build out this sheet, it helps create a sense of who our audiences that we're targeting and what kind of content we are actually going to make. Now, if you haven't already, please take the time and fill out this template so you can have an idea of what content you want to create and ultimately build out who your target audience will be. Now, once we have that, we are going to move on to finding your video format. And this is how to establish, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you really have to think of it in the mind of who your target audience is. If you're posting short form content, right, it's probably going to be in one of these four boxes, either 10, 15 seconds, 15, 30 seconds, 30, 60 seconds, or maybe even 1 to 3 minutes. You can mix and match however much you'd like. And maybe there are some videos you do 15 to 30 seconds and other longer explanation videos where you do 1 to 3 minutes, right? Using this college football one as an example, maybe you're doing 15 to 30 second videos explaining a drill, and then you do 1 to 3 minute videos touring locker rooms. Ultimately, YouTube, a whole different world, but find what length you want to actually make content on for YouTube if you choose to go that route of creating your account. These are a few examples, and like I said, you can mix and match these however you'd like. Now, going down to your upload consistency, this is another really important thing for building your brand, but also just being consistent and growing your account online. In particular, I thought it was important to come up with these 3 different phases of your accounts. If you're starting from the very beginning, which is kind of what this series is, you're going to want to post, if you're doing short form, try for once a day for the first 30 days. Now, this is a really important step just to outline the base of your account to ultimately identify patterns of how your content performs, right? What topics perform well, what structure performs well, what lengths perform well, and ultimately something that's really important is what style do you like best? What type of content do you enjoy making? Now, after those first 30 days, it's recommended for beginners in this kind of growth phase to continue spamming upload in a sense where you have a better understanding of what content works. Now you just have to post consistently and hope that a few get picked up by the algorithm. The recommendation here is 1 to 3 posts per day. Now this, number one, favors consistency on TikTok's algorithm, and it also helps you test different hooks, topics, styles, and see what sticks. So while you have the base structure in your first 30 days, this is where you really change the type of video you're producing while maintaining the same topics you've already established can perform well on your account. Now, another important thing to note here is that quality matters. It's a lot better to have, say, like multiple videos get millions and millions of views than you post 1,000 videos and none of them really do well because they're all super low effort. So it's, while you're posting a lot, it's still important to make sure to try and maintain quality. Now, that being said, early on when you are posting, specifically on TikTok or Reels or any short form platform, volume is really helpful to understand. Number one, on your end, the data feedback on how these videos are performing, but it also signals to the algorithm what kind of content you are making. Now, after you gain a little bit of traction, maybe you're at 10,000, 100,000, even like 1 million followers, and you're really becoming more of an established creator, you can kind of sit back and focus on maybe 3 to 5 posts per week. Now, the reason this changes from 1 to 3 posts per day is once you have a smaller following, you'll actually be able to get like a guaranteed chance that your video will be shown on a good amount of people's feed that are interested in the topic that you are posting content on. So this is why it's really important, like we said, to post more quality videos where you can have a few that do really well. That's going to make a much larger impact on your account than if you were to make a bunch of videos throughout the week that are all super low effort and then they ultimately don't perform well and could even hurt your account by having people unfollow. So it's okay once you're at this stage to sit back and post a few less if it means that you are increasing the quality of your content. Like we said, yeah, once you understand what works, slow down, focus on storytelling and retention. And this cadence keeps your account active and in the algorithm without burning out, which is another big thing, right? Once you're able to gain some traction, chances are likely you've grinded for many months to probably even a couple years. So burnout is a very important thing to avoid. Now, with brands and large accounts, you can post anywhere from around 3 to 7 posts per week. And this is really, especially if you're a brand or even a large personal brand, aim for quality over quantity, right? You want to protect everything is that you've already built. And at this stage, one really good video with 10 million views is better than 100 videos with low views. So now we are going to go onto the most important part of this video and ultimately building your brand, which is what is your X factor? Now, having an X factor is what makes your videos unforgettable. It is the signature element that instantly grabs attention and makes people recognize your content the moment it appears on their feed. For example, like you could be filming dance videos, but instead of just being in a studio or anything else like every other content creator, you could be filming on the side of a mountain or at the beach. And maybe you're filming cooking videos and you don't want to be on the side of a mountain or at the beach, you could film cooking videos and wear a lobster suit or anything else that, number one, you're scrolling and you see a lobster suit cooking, that grabs attention, but it also reaffirms your brand with who's ever scrolling on, say, TikTok. They watch a million different cooking videos, but every time they see someone in a lobster suit, they are instantly reminded that that video is yours. Because the X factor is a visual cue that separates your video from the endless scroll of similar content. It not only helps you stand out, but it also builds consistency in your branding. When viewers repeatedly see the same recognizable visual detail, they begin to connect it directly with your account. Over time, that familiarity turns your account into something instantly identifiable, and that is what keeps people coming back. Now, specifically in this section, we are going to touch on multiple creators on TikTok and even YouTube that do branding really, really well. They have many different factors on their videos that are repeated every single time to help the viewer recognize that their content is their content. So we're going to go over these case studies in just a second. But this is really the important part where you take notes on what creative inputs you want to have on your content. So these are a few examples of things that can be your X factor that really try to make sure you're thinking of things that are different from anyone else that's posting online, things that you can brand as your own. So a classic one is clothing, right? The type of stuff you wear. It could be a distinct jacket, shirt, hat, glasses, jewelry, or costume. Your also background could be a huge branding opportunity, whether you have a really distinct studio, bedroom, kitchen, wallpaper, or like we said, if you're wanting to spice up your dancing videos and instead of being in a studio, you could be in a really cool nature spot that's instantly recognizable of, oh, wow, like that's the guy that dances on a mountain. It's pretty cool and it's hard to forget. So that's a big one. Visual style too can be another one where you'll have more control over it if you don't have opportunity for really cool clothing or really cool background. The visual style can come through a distinct color palette, lighting, or even a camera angle, which is how you film your content. Now, you could also place different objects in your videos, which could be like a distinct plant, mirror, couch, lamp, or prop you hold, which we'll touch on later. You could also, this kind of goes with visual style, but different texts, like a specifically distinct graphic or font that you use in every single one of your videos. And ultimately, too, your structure, right? Your structure can be a form of branding on your content. A lot of TikTokers do this really well, where they start every video with the same 3 or 5 words, or maybe even 1 word. And that just instantly clicks the viewer back into the mindset of, oh, I've heard that word before. I recognize this content and this person, right? In an endless scroll of content, it is really important to find key staples to include in your video that sets it apart and ultimately builds out your brand. A few people that do this really, really well is Nicole Raffi, I believe is how you say her name, on YouTube. She makes explanatory videos that are like 30 to 45 minutes long, explaining a celebrity's like lore and kind of what's been going on in pop culture. But with her videos in particular, she has really good branding with the backgrounds of where she films. I think it's in her room, maybe her living room, but she has photos and picture frames of the person that she's actually talking about in the video. So if we go down to these examples too, as you can see, it's the same person. Every video she films, she just changes the picture frames in her background, but it's really recognizable because her brand is tied to what she posts on YouTube, which if you're scrolling and you click on one of her videos and you see these picture frames, it instantly clicks back into your mind if you're not a casual viewer that's subscribed yet. Oh, I've seen one of these videos, right? So it's a really great branding piece on YouTube in particular. And Casey Neistat does a similar thing, but it is much more casual, where in order to build out his brand, he wears these particular sunglasses in all of his videos. And it's gotten to the point where if you just look up Casey Neistat, right, every single video of him is wearing these sunglasses. And even here you can see like the recommended thing at the very top is sunglasses, because that is what he built his brand around. And anyone that's watching YouTube or randomly clicks on a video could recognize him just because of his sunglasses, and they can click the viewer back into realizing who Casey Neistat is. Another great example, which we'll touch on actually through these, which I'll click through, are the Highland Bros on TikTok. They have really great formatting, and this would go onto like structure of branding. They touch on a few things in particular, but they do videos like Who is the Imposter? They also do Who Am I? Or like Guess the Word. And this consistent branding, along with, if you can see, they actually have the similar backgrounds in every single one of their videos, creates a really recognizable brand for people scrolling to realize who is posting on this account. If we're going down here, these are 8 TikTok accounts that I thought had really great consistent branding. I'll actually pull up my TikTok account and show you what I mean right now, but please feel free to check out any one of these accounts. These first 6 are more personal creators, and then these last 2 are brands for anyone that actually has a company and wants to be able to brand their accounts on social media. All right, this first account we're going to talk about is Arena's Curb Appeal, and the main character that always posts videos has really great consistent branding in his outfit. He always wears an orange shirt, black sunglasses, and sometimes even a white hat to cap off his look. Now, this is really important because, again, it creates brand familiarity with having the exact same person post these curb videos, and it makes it instantly recognizable with him wearing the exact same outfits in every single one of his posts. This next account we are going to talk about is Lazy Pot Noodle, and this account stuck out for two very specific reasons. The first one is their X factor. I thought it was really interesting how while they make cooking videos, every single one of the videos they upload is cooking on like a bed. So it's something that is really, really unique and can cause the viewer a little bit of pause when they are scrolling and be, oh, like, wow, they're cooking on a bed? That seems really, really weird, but it makes you stop and watch the video. Now, another thing that stuck out to me is the consistency of branding in the style of videos that they upload. Cooking videos can be a lot of different, made a lot of different ways, but with this one, they constantly cook with like loud slapping noises. So if you click on any video, right, they are constantly just slapping and ASMRing the food around, which creates brand familiarity in sound. And also with their content too, they always have a laptop screen in front of them. So this is something too that makes the videos very, very recognizable. Now, this next account we're going to talk about is Jonathan. Every single one of his videos is filmed in this kitchen where it's these two that are always in the videos singing, and then they bring in who's ever in the middle is like a celebrity or a singer, and they're all singing together in this kitchen. But what really sticks out is that they are constantly singing in the exact same spot. So when someone's scrolling and they see people singing in this kitchen, they instantly know that it is this account. Now, the next account I wanted to touch on is Tim Cheese, and this account in particular does really good with mascot branding. So as you can see, every single one of their videos is made in this like rat or mouse costume. And if you are scrolling and you see this mouse multiple times, you are instantly going to associate it with this account. And it just makes for a very recognizable brand as this mouse films outside, does dances, and seemingly travels to a bunch of different places around the world. So again, another great example of consistent branding, even with like a costume or a mascot. Now, another account is Dylan Page. He posts news content always from this very specific room in his studio. So again, this is using a background with really creative lights to ultimately capture the viewer and keep that consistency of branding. Now, the School of Hard Knocks is another great example of consistent branding. The purpose of this account is to go around and ask people how they made their money, but every single video that is uploaded starts with either "excuse me, sir," or "excuse me, ma'am," which is a really recognizable catchphrase for a viewer to constantly hear and associate with this account.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
So, as you can see, like, yeah, the list goes on, and any single one of these videos,
Excuse me, ma'am.
right, that you click on is going to have that intro to associate it with this account. Now, as we move on to the corporate accounts, like Nutter Butter is a really unique example where they have style branding. So every single one of their videos is just really, really weird. It's all super like low resolution, almost like scary and kind of weird, but it's a very recognizable brand if you just are scrolling and see a creepy, weird Nutter Butter video. You immediately associate it with this account. Now, another corporate account, which I'm sure everyone has heard of on TikTok, is Duolingo. I thought that they use their mascot really well. So kind of going along with the Tim Cheese account, or maybe even the Arena's Curb Appeal with the consistent outfits, using this owl mascot in every single one of their videos is very recognizable and really helps just reinstate the idea of the brand and logo that they are trying to create, which is just brand recognition of the app that they're promoting. And as you can see with those 8 accounts, they are really, really great examples of consistent branding on TikTok that has led their accounts to grow to millions and millions of followers. And they really touch on every single one of these creative inputs. And these could be any one of your X factors that build your brand: clothing, background, visual style, objects, text, or even structure and format of your video. They are all really great tools to use to make your content recognizable and stick out amongst the algorithm if you're a viewer watching. So now finally, we're going to move on to just the key takeaways, which is to build out this brand template. And we're first going to start with your target audience. So this goes back to what we talked about up here, which we use the college football example. So I'm going to stick with that. And it's just summarizing everything I wrote at the very top, which is my target audience is a high school male that wants to play D1 football. Activities that he enjoys are training through weights and football drills, watching football on weekends, and also daydreaming about being a pro athlete. And this can kind of help you start to think of what content it is you want to make, right? I can make content around specific weights, specific drills to do in the gym. I could do analysis reviews of football plays that the viewer audience might have watched over the weekend. I could also make inspirational content about what it is to be a pro athlete and get these high school students inspired to pursue their dreams and feed into that want, that daydreaming aspect and desire of the high school student to become a D1 athlete. So these are all just things to get you to start thinking about what content it is you actually want to make. And then going into your structure, right? You have your interest, which is college football. Platform, we're going to post on TikTok around 30 seconds with 1 post per day starting out. And the motivations, like we've discussed, is to get a college offer. And the style that resonates is to really capture and demystify what it means to pursue your dream at a collegiate level. Is show, don't tell. Show the plays, show the universities, show as much as you can to help the student better understand what is coming in their future and what they need to do in order to get there. Going on to this next one, what is your X factor? As we discussed, the most important part of building your brand. If I were to make this account on TikTok and post to high school students, I would probably wear a quarter zip with a headset, which is an example down here. This, I think, establishes credibility and also makes me look recognizable as someone posting online with a headset. I would also have my background be a gym with college logos, right? Helping emphasize the intention of my brand without even having to say words. If someone's scrolling, they can probably guess what it is that I'm going to talk about. And by seeing the college logos and being a high school student, they're going to be intrigued if it's something that they're actually interested in. Fonts for consistent branding, I'll probably use Varsity font, which is a stereotypical college font. And then an object I'll hold every single video is going to be a clipboard. And just for a little bit of fun, as that true X factor, is I'll have a mascot as my subject, right? And I think that this is really creative because maybe he runs in the background of a couple videos that I'm talking and you're like, oh, what was that? But then in other videos, right, we can use him as a subject, whether the mascot is running drills or the mascot is walking through different college locker rooms. So the opportunities are endless here. And the real important thing is just that you sit down and think about what opportunities you can tie into your brand to make your content stick out online. This is just a few examples that I wanted to pull specifically for this video and talking about targeting high school students that want to be college athletes. I hope that this was a good example and that you can ultimately use this template to build out your brand and be posting videos online that are recognizable and helpful to your audience. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Again, this is lesson 2 of the series. So if you haven't, please stay tuned for the rest of it and make sure to check out lesson 1 and everything that's to come. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.